Mike Gill with State of Corruption. Now, if you've been following our fight against drugs in this state and corruption, you probably know that the drug dealers are suing us. I invited it. We have to draw them out. And I'm suing Walker, who's protecting them, right? We're engaged with the enemy right now. Okay? Now, if you know what's happening in the courts, I ask for protection for the witnesses. Now, I don't just have any witnesses. Turns out, I got 45 witnesses. Now, what I've given you, and I'm giving the authorities, and I'll go over that, is 12 in particular, with details. And I'll go over those details briefly with you, of what these witnesses could bring us. It could clean up the whole state, and the drug problem in this state. Now, this package, now I told the court, I told Judge Delker that I wanted protection for these witnesses and that I would be sending this list to the DEA and the U.S. Attorney, which I'm going to. But you know what I decided? I decided to expand that list because I don't trust any of them. I'm going to give it to the Investigating Bureau of Narcotics. I'm giving it to the U.S. Attorney Emily Rice. You might have heard her talk about fentanyl and the problems with drugs. Good, I'm going to give you a chance to do something. New Hampshire Department of Justice, Drug Task Force. Wow. Great job so far, but you get a copy. United States Drug Enforcement Administration in Bedford. Right. Bedford? Anagos lives in Bedford, so do these guys. You get a copy. You get a copy of the witness statements. Manchester Police Department, Chief Willard, one of my favorites. Hey, nice job, by the way. I mean, is there anybody left? Oh, and I want to say a personal thank you for liking when they trash my signs. Rather than investigating it, we did file a complaint, right? You didn't do any investigation. I believe the bottles are still out there. Maybe you want to do a fingerprint instead of liking it on Facebook, you idiot. You get a copy. City of Manchester, Ted Gatsis. You know, Ted, I heard you say that if you got a fentanyl dealer, how about a supplier, you would recommend the death penalty. Really? Well, how about this? I'm going to send you a special package. And you know, your good buddy, you may want to rethink that statement. Bedford Police Department, John Boronsky, you know, formerly of the DEA. Right. Nice job. 5 years you come up here, right, with the DEA. You know what's happened in 5 years? 1,000 people died in New Hampshire of drugs, right? Maybe under 25 died in Afghanistan in the last 25 years. Now you tell me, waving a flag upside down because we're in dire distress. You tell me how we're not. You're killing our children, and you're doing nothing about it. Well, you're going to get witness information with an invitation for me to sit with you, each and every one of you. Right. I'd like it to be on camera. But I don't think you do much talking. But I will sit with you. We'll go over this evidence, right? We'll go up to the trafficking, the pricing. And if you don't, and so far none of you have come forward. For instance, do you not know I have evidence? I put the drug dealers on the signs. Are you telling me none of you have seen them? Right. Of course you have. Okay, so that's my distribution list. So Judge Delker, I'm keeping my word. They're getting the evidence. I've just expanded it a little bit. All right? Now let's take a look at what this evidence might entail. We've got how they're trafficking it. Do you know that these guys are involved in construction? Do you know that they're carrying heroin inside the heavy equipment? Right. Eyewitnesses of loading and unloading this heavy equipment and pulling it out, including guns, assault weapons. I can give you that. Eyewitnesses. People might have done the loading themselves, right? Witnesses. Let's take a look some more. They talk about the primary bank. Not just me. They're saying it. They have people working inside the bank afraid for their lives with information. Oh, and by the way, this gentleman's a prominent politician. Right. And we got another individual who was involved in the motorcycle group, who was delivering the drugs, who witnessed the machine guns and the drugs and the distribution with motorcycle gangs. This person only turned them in only to have law enforcement rat her out. Right. Working with the drug dealers. I mean, how corrupt that person's afraid of her life every day now. Let's go on. I mean, more and more. This is a gentleman who only lost his son to buying drugs from Aganos. He's a politician. Right. I got a state senator who said that recognized that these people are drug dealers for over 20 years. Politician, state senator. We've got a texter who was friends with Alex, who worked in the distribution of these drugs, worked with the motorcycle gangs in distributing these drugs. He's come forward and he's given evidence. And I'm giving that to you, for you to do something about it. He only talks about the price. He only talks how they buy it in Boston. Alex does. They bring it into Methuen, Lawrence, and the motorcycle people pick them up on the town border of Salem. They tell you how much they pay for them. They're telling you they're selling them out of the Elliott Hospital pharmacy. This was a member of the group. This is someone who's known them and worked for them for years. You see? You get all that. You get their involvement in the motorcycle group. Did you know Aganos owns 2 Harley dealerships? All right. So there's no evidence. There's no question. I've got 12 witnesses here. Eyewitnesses. I've got 45 total witnesses. All right? Let me just go briefly over the letter that I'm going to post on this video that you're going to see. This is the letter that each of these individuals and agencies are going to get. All right? I want to enclose this information pertaining to 12 witnesses. I have 3 to 4 times as many witnesses who are willing to testify regarding knowledge of the below matter. Which bears the question, what exactly are you doing? If I can come up with 45 witnesses by myself with them throwing bottles at my sign, how can't you catch these people? You don't know that Dick Aganos is a major drug dealer? I've enclosed text messages detailing prices, location, exchange, illegal drugs, prescription drugs. I mean, the Hope Treatment Centers. It goes through each of these pieces. Before I go on, I want you to know I also spoke to a witness who only said in 2000 the DEA corrupted a bus against Aganos. You're going to see a Sergeant Hambrook. Hambrook was the arresting officer. Guess what? The DEA kidnapped the witness, brought him in the Lowell and screwed up the whole arrest. All the thing was wired. They had video cameras. They had officers surrounding the house, and they still did. So what are we dealing with? We're dealing with the 70s with Stewart. We're dealing with the 80s with Kidden. We're dealing with 2000 with Hambrook, when they screw it up. In 2009, we only had the biggest cocaine bust in the history of the state on a project owned by Anagos. I mean, come on. And now I'm bringing you text messages that are about 3 weeks old. To date. The individual been a drug dealer for 40 years, including today. I have significant evidence substantiating this, such as police, eyewitnesses. We only got a couple of cops. I mean, the ones that aren't corrupt. The evidence addresses not only the drug dealers by criminality of the protection of the drug dealers and his operations throughout the state of New Hampshire, further partnering with crime, such as Aganos and grinders and crews, hiding drugs. They're using inventories and automobiles. Let me see, Auto Fair, pretty big auto dealership, right? I mean, geez, have you ever seen Cocaine Cowboys? You ever seen Scarface? Did they never have car dealerships? They were all with It's laundering the money through the banks and car dealerships. What do they own? Car dealerships and banks. I mean, we can make our own movie. I've included the 12 witnesses. But again, I have 45 pieces of evidence and witnesses that will give testimony. And again, I want a face-to-face meeting. You are owed a face-to-face meeting. We've had 1,000 deaths in this state with no answers. Do you believe that? Why are we the worst in the country per capita? Listen, I want you to think about this. When, at any time in history, have we had an epidemic of crime and not had law enforcement involved? New York, all those cocaine, Miami, with all the cocaine. I mean, right down to Al Capone buying judges. How about this? They didn't have to buy. They are in partnership, as they were before. Nothing has changed. It might just be more complete. Okay, Mike Gill.